we see a group of humans attacking the army of monsters with magical fireballs. They attack the castle and destroy its walls, and in a matter of minutes they take over the castle after destroying it. At the same time, one of Diero's followers is reporting to her about the battles between them and the Kingdom of Rosaria, and informing her that they have decided to form an alliance with the neighboring kingdoms to change the course of the war in their favor. Diero tells him that humans unite when they face a common danger, and that there is no need to worry, because she will leave this mission to Ike. At this time, Ike is sitting quietly in his new office in the Ivalis castle, and we see Sadi serving him happily. On the other side, we see the minister of the Kingdom of Rosaria talking to the captain of the White Flower Knights, whose name is Alice, and commissioning her and her squad to attack the Ivalis castle and reclaim it from the monsters who have taken over it, telling her that they must reclaim this castle at all costs to regain the prestige they lost due to their defeat against the monsters. On a street in the Kingdom of Rosaria, we see Sati sitting in front of one of the con artists playing sleight of hand games, and Sati is guessing the location of the ball the con artist has hidden. But when the con discovers that she has no money, he chases her away, and at that moment a gust of wind appears and reveals the con artist's trick of hiding the ball. As soon as the people realize they have been deceived, they demand that the con artist return their money, and they start beating him. Ike appears, grabs Sati, and takes her away from the place, telling her how a servant can leave her master alone and walk away. She apologizes to him and asks him in surprise why he is not disguised as usual, and he answers her that they are on a mission to gather information from the enemy's territory. And of course, he will not disguise himself and draw all the attention to himself. As they walk, Ike looks around the place and notices the presence of a number of soldiers. So he concludes that the Alliance's information is correct, but there is something strange in the behavior of these soldiers. He explains to Sadi that humans have formed an alliance 3 times before, and in all 3 cases they succeeded in defeating the army of monsters. Sadi asks him worriedly if the same scenario will be repeated this time or not, and Ike is surprised by her worry, as he expects her to be happy about the defeat of the monsters since she is human. But she answers him sadly that in the human society, the children of slaves like her remain slaves for the rest of their lives. Look at the group of enslaved prisoners in a cage and know that if you abandon me, my fate will be just like theirs. So Ike reassures her that the current Beast King is stronger and smarter than all the kings before him. And with Ike's discovery of the problems in human society, he decides that he must find a way to change these situations. Before they leave the place, they are surprised by the con man who the people had beaten after they found out he was a fraud. And he calls out to them and asks them to return his money that was lost because of them. So Sati tells him that it's not our fault, you were the one who was cheating and deserve everything that happened to you. But the con man interrupts her aggressively and repeats that they will pay him the money forcibly, and if they don't have money, he is ready to sell them as slaves. At this moment, Ike looks around, and when he makes sure there is no one else there but them, he uses his magic to freeze the assistant man that the con man had brought to threaten them, and a group of icy spears surrounds the con man and his companion from all directions. Despite the situation changing completely, the con man insists on threatening Ike. So Ike pierces one of the icy spears into his shoulder to make him know who's in control of the situation, and asks him to tell him everything he knows about the events happening in the city. The con man answers that he doesn't know anything about what's happening in the city, and Ike tells him that since he's of no use, it's better to get rid of him. The con man stops him and begs him to forgive him, and tells him everything he knows about the alliance that will be formed between humans, and that the Kingdom of Rosaria is preparing to attack the Beast King's army before the rest of the kingdoms gather. Ike concludes that the Kingdom of Rosaria wants to regain their dignity and prove their superiority through this attack. But if this attack fails, the kingdom's situation will be much worse than before. After some time of thinking, Ike asks the con man about the location of the attack that the Kingdom of Rosaria will carry out. And the con man answers that they will definitely attack the Ivalis castle, whose wall is demolished and defenses are weak. When Ike gets the information he wants, he leaves him and leaves. The next day, we find Ike in his office finishing some papers, and Sadi is preparing tea for him. Without any introduction, one of Ike's followers named Lilith enters and asks him, while distressed, where he has been all this time. He replies that he was on a mission to gather information in the Kingdom of Rosaria and discovered important information. Lilith responds that she is not interested in that talk and looks at Sati, asking who this human is and what brought her here. When Sati introduces herself, Lilith examines her closely and tells Ike how can someone as great as him have an ugly servant like this, and offers to be his servant instead of Sati the human. Sati angrily asks her to stay away from Ike as he is unwell, and this is his rest time. Lilith responds by asking her not to interfere between them and to know her place as a human. Sati replies that she is just doing her duty, and tension builds between the two, nearly resulting in a fight. We leave them and go to Alice and her group, who are preparing to attack the weakly defended Ivalice castle. Despite the soldiers' unease at the lack of guards at the castle gates, they conclude this is due to the castle being under reconstruction. As soon as Alice confirms the preparations are complete, she orders her troops to attack the castle. However, they are surprised when a group of skeletal structures emerges from the ground and attacks them. They prepare to face these creatures, but the problem lies with the orcs, raining arrows on them from a nearby hill. Within seconds, the beasts succeed in defeating Alice and her group thanks to their power and the trap they had set. Alice is forced to retreat with her soldiers as their attack has failed. We see Ike's assistant, who says that retreat is the best option for the humans in their current situation, and praises Ike for his information gathering that led to their victory. As they speak, a mysterious figure attacks Ike with an arrow that pierces his shoulder, causing him to collapse unconscious to the ground. In the kingdom of Rosaria, we see the minister frustrated by the failed attack and the retreat of their forces. He orders Alice's imprisonment, as she is responsible for this defeat. The soldier reporting to him requests he reconsider, as Alice is one of the kingdom's best leaders, and her imprisonment will greatly impact the soldier's morale. But the minister angrily responds that he does not care, and demands they imprison her to justify the defeat to the king. We return to Ivalice Castle to find Ike waking up, disoriented and unaware of what happened. He is shocked to see Severo sleeping on his bed beside him. When she opens her eyes, he asks her what she is doing here. She asks him in surprise how he is treating her in such a cold way after she saved his life and kept his secret. After a while, he puts on his clothes, and Severo recognizes that he has been shot by an arrow and has lost consciousness. At that moment, Ike remembers what happened to him and thanks Severo for rescuing him. She tells him that there is no need to thank her, and the important thing now is that no human being died in the last battle, and your actions will raise more suspicions of Dare. Ike answers her insistently that his goal is to find a way for humans and beasts to coexist. Severo asks him to rest because his injury is not yet fully healed, and she disappears from the place. And the next day, we see Ike and Lilith standing in front of the prison, and Lilith asks him what he will do in this place. He answers her that he wants to make sure of something himself, and he asks her why she came with him despite him forbidding her. She replies to him that he will surely feel lonely if he comes alone, in addition to the fact that he last went out with Sati alone. Ike looks at her and asks her to be completely silent if she wants to stay with him. When they arrive at the gate, they find guards present, and Ike thinks of how to get rid of them without harming them or revealing his presence. But he is surprised that Lilith has struck the guards and made them unconscious in the time he was thinking. When they enter, they are amazed at the large size of the prison, and Ike says they will take time to know the location of Alice's cell. Lilith tells him not to worry, and she will take care of it. And then Ike takes the arrow and examines it, asking himself if it was humans who attacked him or someone else behind the attack. When he feels that someone is inside the room wearing a mask, he quickly puts on a mask. And within seconds, Lilith and Sati enter and hug him with all concern. When they reassure him that he is fine, they go back to arguing with each other as usual. At this moment, Ike's assistant enters and throws Lilith out of the room and locks the door. Lilith demands that he open the door for her and keeps cursing him, and Sati thanks him for freeing her from Lilith. Ike, who is ignoring everything that is happening, asks his assistant to find out what happened to the knights who attacked them. When Ike discovers that Alice was imprisoned because of her failure to recapture the Ivalice castle, he decides he must make sure whether she was behind the attack he was subjected to or not. Within seconds, she had attacked one of the guards and interrogated him, learning the location of Alice. She knows that Alice is in the last cell, and they are on their way to Alice's cell. The guards discover their presence and attack them. Lilith asks how they were discovered. Lilith gives him the keys and asks him to go to Alice's cell and let her deal with the guards. He insists that she not harm the guards unnecessarily, but as he turns, he sees her attacking them. When Ike reaches Alice's cell, he opens the door, but is surprised to find the cell empty. As he examines the cell, he is suddenly attacked by Alice, who tries to stab him with a dagger. Alice continues her attacks on him, but Ike defends himself with his magic staff, finally knocking Alice to the ground. Alice gets up and asks him what he's doing here and what he wants from her. Ike asks her if she was responsible for the attack he faced at the end of the fight, but Alice looks at him calmly and asks if he is really a monster. As they're talking, the guards have surrounded the cell. Alice exploits Ike's distraction and holds the dagger to his neck, demanding to know his true identity. What will happen? Will Ike be able to keep his secret and escape, or will Alice expose his identity and the guards capture him? We'll find out next time. Before we end the episode, please support us with likes, shares, and subscriptions, and turn on notifications to stay up to date. That's it. Peace.